A lone spy with a wooden leg infiltrated one of Germany's most secure facilities during World War II and managed to fool the entire Nazi army. And he did it without firing a single shot. But who was this man? And how did he pull off such an incredible feat? Werner von Alvensleben was a German aristocrat born in 1897 in 1914. At the age of 17, Werner joined the German army as a volunteer and fought in World War I. He was trained as an explosives expert, and his skills would prove vital when carrying out daring missions behind enemy lines. They would form a spy ring and operate behind enemy lines in Germany. Their mission was simple: gather intelligence on the Nazis and relay it back to the French authorities. Each member was an expert in their field. There was Jean Letelier, who specialized in communications; Joseph Gutt, who was a master of disguise; and Raoul Nordling, who was in charge of logistics. One time the team was almost caught when a German patrol stumbled upon their hideout. But thanks to Joseph Gutt's quick thinking, they were able to escape. He had prepared multiple false identities for each team member, complete with forged documents and cover stories. It was everything that the members of the spy ring had hoped for. After the death of Paul Filiez, the French military needed a new leader for the spy ring. He created a network of safe houses throughout the city. These safe houses were marked with a white circle painted on the wall. When the Allies entered a building, they would look for this symbol. If they found it, they knew that they could trust the people inside. And they chose Werner von Alvensleben. The other members of the spy ring were skeptical at first. He knew that the Nazis had to be stopped, and he was willing to risk his life to do it. He was a man who put his life on the line to fight against tyranny and oppression. He was a true patriot and a role model for us all. His bravery and quick thinking saved countless lives and helped to bring an end to the Nazi regime. But what's most amazing is that he did all this without firing a single shot. He was an aristocrat who had spent most of his life in luxury. How could he possibly lead them now? But Werner proved them wrong. We have lots of awesome content coming up, so please stay tuned. Thanks for watching. And it wasn't until many years later that his deeds were uncovered. In 2005, a documentary was made about his life and the spy ring that he led. Since then, he has been recognized as one of the bravest and most selfless people who fought against the Nazis. Now they had to do everything they could to help the Allies push the Germans back. This allowed them to slip through the Germans' fingers and continue their mission. So Werner had to come up with something new. He decided to use his wooden leg. He carved a swastika into it and then put on his best German accent. This convinced the Nazis that he was one of them, and they left him alone. The team was given the name Askin One by the French military, and when they did, they would stop at nothing to bring the spies to justice. The Germans were pushing deep into France, and the end seemed nigh. But the members of the spy ring refused to give up. He was instrumental in helping the Allies topple the Nazis from power in France. But once the war was over, he disappeared. He didn't want to be celebrated as a war hero. He just wanted to get back to his family. They knew that even if the Allies lost the war, the Germans wouldn't be victorious either. The nukes would ensure that. So they continued to gather intelligence and send it to the French resistance. In 1943, Paul Filiez was captured and executed by the Nazis, but the other members of the spy ring managed to escape. They regrouped in a new location and continued their work. It was a name that would soon be whispered in fear throughout the upper ranks of the Nazi Party. The French could then use this information to launch their own attacks against the Nazi regime. Von Alvensleben and his team simply had to observe the Germans from a distance and report any suspicious activity to the French. They also managed to obtain some classified documents which revealed that the Germans were planning to invade Poland. This information was relayed to the Polish government in exile, and they were able to prepare for the attack accordingly. By the time he was 20 years old, he had been awarded the prestigious Iron Cross for his bravery in battle. But despite his success in the military, when the war ended, von Alvensleben felt disillusioned. But for now, he was just another cog in the machine. The team was led by Paul Thilias, a decorated war hero who had also fought in World War I. Paul was the perfect leader for this group of spies. He was brave, intelligent, and charismatic. He left the army and went to live in Switzerland, where he worked as a ski instructor. There he met his wife, Jeannie. The couple had 2 children together, and they lived a happy life in relative obscurity. That was until 1933, when Adolf Hitler came to power. Hitler's rise to power sent shockwaves throughout Europe. For those that opposed the Nazis, including von Alvensleben, it was clear that something had to be done. The Gestapo had already begun arresting people they deemed enemies of the state. So von Alvensleben knew that he and his family were in danger. He fled to France with his wife and children in hopes of finding a way to fight back against the Nazis. In Paris, von Alvensleben met with some old military contacts from World War I, and they hatched a plan. One of the members of this spy ring was Juan Pujol Garcia, aka Juan Pujol, who would become famous later for his ability to dupe the Nazis into believing he was a British spy. The group consisted of 4 men and 1 woman, Odette Sansom. Their first mission was to gather intelligence on German troop movements. This was relatively easy. As the war in Europe raged on, the stakes became higher and the missions became more dangerous. But it was only a matter of time before the Nazis caught on to what was happening. By this time, the war was going badly for the Allies. Then, in 1944, something amazing happened. The Allies launched the D-Day invasion and began pushing the Germans back. And this is where Werner von Alvensleben's wooden leg comes in. When the Allied troops took over Paris, he devised a plan to help them identify friendly faces. But there was a problem. The Germans had already gotten wind of this plan, and they were on the lookout for anyone displaying Nazi symbols. With the swastika leg, Werner was able to enter buildings and identify the people inside as Nazi sympathizers or not. After the war, Werner von Alvensleben returned to his family in Switzerland. He never spoke about his experiences during the war. Despite the danger that he faced, Werner von Alvensleben never wavered in his mission. Today, Werner von Alvensleben is a forgotten hero, but his story deserves to be remembered. If you enjoyed this video, then make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss any of our future videos.